We'll go ahead and call the meeting orders, August 12th, Greer City Council 2014 meeting. And I'll have Councilman Airwood, who's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we pray. Dear Holy Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for watching over our city and blessing our city, and I thank you for watching over our city workers as they served our community the other night during the torrential rains. Lord, continue to bless us, bless this council, and as we go through this evening doing the city's business, may what we do be pleasing to you, and what we do may indicate that we are servants of this city and servants of the people, your people of this city. I ask you to go with us this evening and forgive us for our sins. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Elizabeth, do we have anybody that's speaking in public forum?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, we have the minutes of the July 22nd, 2014 council meeting. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Do we have any additions or any corrections? Elizabeth?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes. That brings us to the administrator's report. Mr. Driggers?
Thank you, sir. Members of council. A couple of things that we do want to share with you this evening. We had a very successful community with our National Night Out program. As many of you have been involved in that, some of you had the opportunity to come out and participate with several of our neighborhoods this year. We were extremely pleased. That really has grown for us. We traditionally were doing about one a year, and now we have had 4 communities that were actively involved in that this year. We are looking at how we can develop and grow that program as well. Many of our surrounding communities seem to do more community-wide type events. We've elected to do those more specific inside our neighborhoods, and that has worked really well for us. So as we look toward next year, we think there could be some opportunities for us to look at doing both. That we may try to do something more on a community-wide basis, but then continuing to concentrate and give emphasis inside our neighborhoods. So if you have neighborhoods that next year you believe this would be a program that they would be interested in as well, please let us know. We coordinate that through both our police department and our recreation department. But again, a great night out for us as a community as we celebrated this National Night Out event, and we were glad to be able to participate and do that. We had one minor thing, but if you had an opportunity to kind of just look down when you came in, you'll notice that we have completely recarpeted the event center here at City Hall. We finished that project last week. Part of our repair and replacement program for this building is that we continue to set aside dollars through depreciation of the building. That enables us through our regular budgeting process. We use those set aside funds to do that type of maintenance and upkeep of the building as it needs to happen. And it was time for us to do some carpet replacement here in this facility. So all 3 of the event halls and the outer pre-event space as well has been recarpeted, and we finished up that project ahead of schedule and under budget. So we were very, very pleased to be able to get that completed as well. Want to give you some information concerning the storm event this past week. As you are aware, our community was hit pretty hard during the rain event on Saturday evening. And we stayed quite busy during that as well. few things that have occurred, though. I think it's important that we make sure that you are aware of that as well. On Saturday evening, wanted to share with you that during that 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Saturday night to Sunday morning, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., we had a total of 376 radio transmissions that needed to occur during that because of the activity that was happening there. From 10 until 11, we received 31 calls. From 11 to midnight, 30 calls. Midnight to 1 a.m., another 28 calls. And from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., 13 calls. And then from that 10:15 to 12:15, in that 2-hour span, 60 of those calls came in during that period of time. The transmissions and the dispatches that were required for us, transmissions on the police side, 197, on fire, 179, and it required us for actual dispatches of service during that event, 24 police calls for actual service, and 5 fire department calls for service as well. As you are familiar, you know that we had a number of our streets that became flooded during that time. On a state highway, we had a bridge that washed out. We had 2 vehicles that that got into that area. Some called it a sinkhole, but into where the bridge collapsed. We had 2 vehicles. It required us to do a rescue in that area. We also had some additional rescues that were required that evening. We had another in a home, and then we also had other calls relative to vehicles as well. So a very, very busy night for us. We know that there may still be some questions about what all occurred and how we were responding to those. We're continuing to do some looking into all of that, but our folks did a great job in making sure that the dispatch crews, the folks that were on, boots on the ground, those folks that were out there, they were there and they were doing what we have them doing. We even had one of our own firefighters that got caught in the rapid water and required another of our firefighting team to be able to retrieve him from that as well. So it can get very frightening out there when this is occurring. There's a lot of activity, but we do want to make sure that we are responding in the absolute best way that we can. We want to make sure that we're communicating with our public when they're calling into us in the most appropriate means that we can. And if we fall short of that in any way, we want to make sure that we're aware of that, and we want to make sure that we are using that as teachable moments for us as well. But we don't experience many of those types of events, but we want to learn from them when it does happen.
Mr. Driggers, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of assessing of how well we did. Will there be some kind of report in the future if we were deficient, if we need to improve?
That is exactly what we're working on right now. At our staff meeting yesterday, that is exactly what we tasked to, particularly to our public services department, to our police department, and our fire department. We particularly tasked to those folks to say what occurred, how did we respond, how would we have responded differently under any other circumstances if we should, and what did we learn from this event that will make us better that when it happens again in the future. Now that wouldn't be a report that we would publish. It's an internal assessment, but we certainly are reviewing that, and we're doing it from 911 dispatch, from the fire crews on scene, search and rescue, police, and public services responding. One of the things that we did discover in this, and I'll share, one of the things that we discovered in this process is what happens when an event occurs within our jurisdiction, on the boundary of outside our jurisdiction, and it occurs on a roadway that is not our jurisdiction. And that was the case with Memorial Drive Extension. Memorial Drive Extension is a state road. City limits goes to one side of the bridge collapse, the county picks up on the other side. So there were multiple jurisdictional issues that were required there. We were working with us, the county, and the state through the Highway Department and through the South Carolina Department of Transportation. So yes, sir, we learned some things that we think would make that process better and smoother. if that occurs again in the future. But it was particularly relative to communication, making sure that we know how to get in touch with state personnel when we need them on a state road, barricades that may need to be lighted because it's dark, and you don't necessarily want to have just caution tape across a road that a bridge is out on. And how long our crew should stay on scene and those types of things. We stayed on that scene till about 2 a.m., a little after 2 a.m. But there were some concerns on our part because we weren't able to get some state crews in as quickly as we had hoped that we could. So we tried to secure that area the best that we could, and the state was able to come in and provide some additional barricading the next morning. But we did have some concerns that evening. No loss of life for us, and that is paramount. And that is the one thing that was foremost in our rescue efforts, is to make sure that we were there to protect life and property the best that we possibly could. But again, we do believe that there's always learning opportunities in those kinds of events, and we want to challenge ourselves to that. But if you have particular questions or issues or concerns, please let us know, and we want to make sure we get those addressed. A lot of folks.
I don't have any specifics, but I would just hope that if there is a material need that we need to provide, be sure and let us know. I mean, if we're lacking in communications or in equipment or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, granted, this is an event that you're not going to see, thank goodness, very often, but we need to know if there's a drastic need for something.
Yeah, it's it's kind of like that old story of how many snow plows do you buy? I mean, but you need to be prepared when it does.
Right.
And this is the type of event. How much equipment do we provide? And then what are our resources available to us, either through our partners at the counties, respective counties, and what are the resources available to us through other departments as well. It's just our general area got hit pretty heavy, and Greer particularly got hit pretty hard.
I know you're going to be reviewing this scenario, and that was a large volume of calls. But I think one of the things that may be helpful in evaluating this, and it may be too cumbersome to do at this point, but to go back to other not scenarios, but events that we've had, and most of them are weather related, and compare how many calls, actual calls for service that we had in that event's time. And when you have a very severe storm come through, that'll generally generate a lot of calls for all three of the departments that you mentioned. And in that way, we could compare just to see how everybody's really doing, not just, okay, we had a lot of calls this time. Well, how did we handle these calls then, and how we're handling it?
I think that's a very good point. I think that would be very helpful to us as well. Thank you. We'll certainly integrate that we look, not only do we benchmark against other agencies, we should be benchmarking against ourselves. Right. How have we performed under similar circumstances, and how did we perform this time? That's a very good point. We'll do that. Another situation that occurred as a part of this storm, we want to make sure that you are aware of. We have a multifamily apartment community here in the city limits of Greer. It's called Legacy Park. You may be familiar with it. It was actually originally constructed as Alta Crescent over on Suber Road. It's an apartment community that's there. We received a telephone call from a resident of Legacy Park yesterday that they were concerned that there was possibly some undermining of the structure that was there as a result of the storm. They had some washing under it. It's this two-story apartment building built on slab. So we were getting some erosion under the building. A resident contacted us. We made an inspection of the property, and our building officials, our building inspector and our certified building official felt very concerned that the property was indeed unsafe. We issued evacuation notices for that property last evening. It did require that 12 families that were located in this particular building, there are 12 units. It was necessary for them to be evacuated from that building because we were concerned about the structural integrity of the building. The property management folks worked very, very closely with those families to get them relocated into other units that were there at their facility, or they made arrangements for them to be housed in area hotels. So none of the families were displaced. They were immediately taken care of, but that was being handled by the management group that was there. Our indication to the property was that they needed to have a structural engineer review the property as quickly as possible, and then once that we could receive certification from a structural engineer that it was safe and sound, that we then would lift our condemnation. That is what we had to do on the building. We would lift that once we had certification that the property was safe. Our particular concern is that the erosion was so severe that additional rains, very similar to what we had this afternoon, would cause additional undermining of that property. And the last thing that we wanted to have happen is that building to collapse. And the last thing we wanted to happen is for it to collapse and there be occupants in the building as well. So you may get some inquiry concerning that. We were very quick to get on that when we were notified of it. We dispatched all of our resources to that site, and again, the decision was made in the field of what we needed to do. We communicated that to the management of the property. They worked with the families to get them relocated, and now we are working with the property management again to be able to get that building reopened once it is shored back up and we can re-inspect to make sure that it's safe. But again, wanted to make you aware of that event last evening. On a very good news note, also wanted to let you know that you will recall at one of our previous meetings, we came to you and we asked for you to allow us to apply for a U.S. soil and water conservation grant that would be used to do some work over at Century Park. That was a very large grant request. It would require that we would do a match, a 50-50 match of the project. The 50% match that would have been required or is required for that project was not something that we had allocated in our general fund. And so you authorized that we would apply for the grant, and if the grant was awarded, that we would use fund balance, reserve funds, to do the match for that project. Well, I am very, very pleased to announce to you that we have received that grant. We have been notified that that will be administered through the state Parks and Recreation Department, but it is a U.S. Soil and Water Conservation Grant. It is a $400,000 project. We will put $200,000 into that project, and we will be reimbursed an additional $200,000 through those federal funds. I've asked Ann Cunningham to join us this evening since we are announcing that this evening. I've asked her to provide us with a brief reminder, an update of the work that was identified in that grant application.
Good evening. Yes, we're very excited. These funds would support the demolition and construction of a new press box, restroom, concession facility at Century Park. And as Mr. Dreger said, the project total will be up to $400,000, and the city will be reimbursed 50% or up to $200,000 at the completion of the project. It has been approved by the South Carolina Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism as a recommendation to be funded through the National Park Service. So we're waiting for their approval. We hope to receive that and sign documents in October, November, if that approval is given. And of course, no work will start until that approval is given. So we are excited to be able to have a building that's ADA compliant. Well, certainly we can address some stormwater issues when we address the new plaza area there. Will help us certainly in becoming a more desirable site for tournaments. And weather permitting, we hope to complete this project in the first quarter of 2016. So we hope not to disrupt any play. We're trying to be very smart about when demolition takes place and when we start construction. And so we're thrilled. This is a wonderful opportunity for us.
And we would suspect we will be adding some additional resources to that site. As you are aware, we purchased some property next door for some additional overflow parking. It's very, very likely that we will be in a position through our hospitality fund that we would have some available resources to use for the upgrade and the improvement of that area, whether that will be at this point a stone lot, or maybe we would hope to go ahead and get that lot surfaced as well. But this is a great opportunity for us. And with that $400,000, the additional parking, we're looking at a 2015 planning, programming, 2016 construction of probably in the range of $500,000 on that site. And that will really go a long way in making substantial improvements to Century Park. Yeah, very excited. Also would like to share with you this evening, previously we've shared with you that we were working very, very hard to develop some new technologies to enable our community to better communicate with us in reporting issues. We're just extremely happy that we're able to roll out now the Greer Connect app. This app is what would go on your smartphone or on your iPad or your tablet devices, so that members of our community through that app can do a number of things to communicate with us, but to primarily be able to report conditions or circumstances that may need repair. So whether there's a pothole on the street, or there's a sidewalk that needs to be repaired, or there's a street light that's burned out, whatever the case may be, if it needs to be reported to us, very similar to what we're doing online now through our service request module. We have partnered with our provider WebQA and also through what we call Greer Connect, and this is under the umbrella of the system that we now have the ability to do a telephone message to all of our community in times when we needed to inform them of a community event or give them notification of a community emergency. This is one more tool in that toolbox allowing us to better communicate with our public. I've asked Mike Sale and Jim Ridgel if they would give us a demonstration this evening. You will start to see as early as tomorrow some display advertising in local media. You'll see information on our electronic media outlet as well, our local electronic media outlet. You'll start to see these placards starting to show up around the community, allowing folks to scan the QR code to download the app. They can go to the App Store, they can go to the Google Play Store. Mike will give us some more information about this. You received, just prior to this meeting, you received by email, as well as we have at your place, these QR codes. If you have smartphone devices, we're going to ask you to get these downloaded, and Mike's going to work through this a bit to show you how this works. Mike, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Driggers. Thank you, Council. As Mr. Driggers mentioned, this is an opportunity for us to provide another tool for our residents and the public to connect with the city in communicating issues that they see on a daily basis. We already have the web interface that we've had in place for now a couple of years, and the web interface allows you to sit down at a PC, enter information about a street light that's out, or a sidewalk that needs repair, or grass that's growing up in the yard. You can sign up for an account. We can communicate back and forth with you as we progress through the issue. The web app just connects to that same portal, but it's done on a mobile device. One of the things that's become pretty apparent to us is that the society is changing in what they use in order to communicate. And I read some statistics earlier today. I got a report and email that came to an article that came in today that indicated that for the first time last year in 2013, 55% of those that were accessing the web or doing internet activity did so on a mobile device. And that the prediction is that in 2014 that they're likely to see a 19% increase on top of that. So it continues to grow, and we know that it's a mechanism that we need to provide that gives our citizens a lot more flexibility and easy use in reporting problems to us. As we mentioned, this is related to our Blackboard Connect system, which is another tool that we use to communicate information back to the public. We are entering into a heavy promotional strategy to get the word out about this new app. As Mr. Drigger said, we're going to have this on our website. We'll be putting some information on cable channel 15. We're going to be running ads in the local paper and online through GreerToday.com. We will be using Blackboard Connect to make a call out to our residents, touching 10,000 households, giving them the information about where to go and how to use the site. So we're going to get the word out a good bit to our residents, but we also want to make sure that we engage our businesses. And one of the things, in a minute, Jim Richard's going to walk through a demonstration of the product for us. One of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did was also engage the business community. One of the things that we did with this app is through our business license database, those that have a business license with the City of Greer, we populated appropriate businesses. There are some that aren't in there, but the appropriate businesses that people would want to go to, restaurants, retail stores, services like dentist offices, doctor's offices, auto mechanics, things like that are in this database. We pre-populated a database with business addresses, phone numbers that they can use to locate these businesses. So instead of using like a Yelp or a Yellow Pages or some of these other apps out there, if you have this app installed on your phone and you want to know, call to make a reservation at Ben 112 or another local restaurant, you can pull it up in the app and do that without having to look it up to another app or another means, calling 411. Which my wife did the other day, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm calling 411." And I'm like, "Did you just look it up on the phone?" Nobody ever does that anymore. But she used 411, so I thought that was interesting. Anyway, as Mr. Griggs mentioned, we have these placards. We're going to be going out. We're partnering with GDC and their staff and our staff starting tomorrow. We will be going around local businesses in town for appropriate places where these placards can be displayed at a cash register or at a counter, service counter in an office to get the word out to the public as they come in. We're going to communicate with businesses about how they can use the app to help promote some of that information about what's going on with their business. The business database allows a business to create an account on the same system that our residents can create, but it ties their business to their account, and they can go in and make updates to it. They can put information about hours of operation, any deals or promotions that they have, any coupons that they may want to put out, general information about menu items or services that they're providing or specials that they have. So it's another tool that they can use to touch the public. So the more hands we can get it in our residents, the more hands those businesses have information about their business as well. We're going to be communicating that information a couple different ways. One is that as we're going around asking these businesses to put out these placards, we're going to provide them a handout that describes the system and what they can do. And we're also going to be sending out a letter to each of the businesses telling them the methods and the means that they use to go in and sign up for the account. So we're going to communicate pretty effectively with them to let them know how they can use this as a tool in exchange for having them help us get the information out about the app. So we kind of feel like it's going to be a really good partnership between not only our business community and ourselves, but our community and residents and the businesses and residents as well. So we think it's a win across the board. And it's another tool that we have to help businesses do better in our municipality. And it's part of, and we're going to promote it as part of the fee that they pay us to the business license fees that they already provide to the city. In addition, I think that at this point I just want to turn it over to Jim. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the app and everything. He's going to walk through a demonstration of the app. As Mr. Drigger mentioned, I sent you an email earlier today that has a direct link that you can go to on our website that has the two options, whether you have an Android device or whether you have an Apple device. It allows you to select between the two that you can use to download the app, and then it'll take you directly to the App Store. The app, of course, is free. And then it also tells you about our Web Connect system and Blackboard Connect. It basically gives you a rundown of all the options that we currently have in using mobile devices and our PCs to communicate with the public. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim, who's going to give us a little bit of a demonstration of the product. Okay.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to use my iPhone for the demonstration here so we can see exactly how our citizens might use this. This is also available on the iPad. If you do not have an iPhone, it is also available in the Google App Store as well. So we've got it set for pretty much all the mediums that are there. I'm going to go ahead and utilize the initial QR code. I'm going to scan this. And what this will do is it will scan the code, and take us to the city's website, where here on the website, we have a request here for the portal that will take you to the actual app itself in the App Store. The other option is also just go straight to the Apple App Store or Google Play, and again, you'll be able to get the app that way. Just so that you can see what that looks like. Going into the App Store, I'm going to do a search for, you can do Greer SC, Greer Connect. I'll just simply do Greer at this point, and we'll pull up everything in the App Store for Greer, of which I think about the fifth one over is the Greer SC Connect web app. Of course, it is a free app. Simply click on it to download it, and it will pull in that app into your phone. I'll go ahead and pull that open for you now. And super. All right, so here, when users open up this application, again, doesn't matter if it's on your App Store, or I'm sorry, your iPad, on your iPhone, or your Android device, this is the main opening screen. Typically, we started this, as Mr. Sell mentioned, was to request services from the city. If you had a pothole, abandoned car, animal running around wild, something of that nature. So I'll go in here and I'll tap Request a Service. And what we've done is there's lots of different types of service requests in this app. What we have done is we've gone in and selected the top 7 categories that are most frequently used and added the 8th here for general issues. So you can scroll through the small select list of options here, and I'm just going to select a general issue. So if what you're looking for is not listed here, I'll just tap on general issue. And what that will do is send you to another form where now you can fill in information about your issue. If what you want in your report has an address, you can, of course, fill in the text boxes here for the address, city, state, zip code. And then inside the, I didn't want that one, tap done to get out. Tapping inside to describe the issue. Here you can type in whatever the issue is, all the information that you need to provide for us as a city to be able to address this. You are, and this is one of the things I really like, there is no character limitation on this field. If you need to type in 5,000 characters, you type in 5,000 characters. If it's a full book, which I please hope you won't do, but you have the ability to put in as much information as you need there. There are no restrictions on this field, which is a beautiful thing. I'm just going to put in here, first of all, make sure that the powers that be know this is a test entry, that City Park Wi-Fi is going up and down. Okay, so my issue here is that there's a problem with the Wi-Fi in City Park. It goes up, it comes down, having that little bit of issue. I'll tap on done, and hopefully the city of Greer knows where City Park is, so I'll leave that information blank during the address field. However, if you're out and about, not sure, you're at some location, not sure the actual address, maybe you're reporting a pothole somewhere in the street. Another nice feature here is, as you'll see up there in the top right, we have a location field. Tapping on that location button, now it's utilizing the GPS on your phone and will pinpoint your location, which we see here is 301 East Poinsett Street in Greer. If that's not where you are, and I'll demonstrate here, you can click the plus sign to zoom in a little bit more. Now I can relocate the map, and I can actually drag on the map and say, well, I'm at this particular location. So now I'm at 113 School Street. And if that's where the pothole is or where the incident is, there across the bottom, I can now click on Save, and it populates those address fields for me with that information. So this app also ties into your GPS capabilities on your phone as well. Let's say there's some photos there. You've seen something that you think we ought to know. I'll tap on the Photos button. Now with this app, we have the option. We can either take a picture, or if I've already taken several pictures of the incident, I can select that from my camera roll as well. I will tap one here to choose from the photo gallery. Ties into the phones. I'll select a picture. There we go. And now this picture will become part of the documentation. So the request goes into the city. Not only does the description come in, but the picture as well. So if you're there, you can take a picture. I can also tap on take new photo. And as you see here, I won't take anybody else's photo here, but we have the ability of taking that photo. Yeah, I might see that picture. And I'm going to use that photo. And now it's also added into the application as well. Decide, oh, well, maybe I better not use that. You can also tap on the photos to select them and remove that photo. So if you need to retake the picture, you got one added, you can take it out, no problem, you have that ability to do that. Once all the information that you specified is correct, I'm going to tap on the details button up top again. Look back through it one more time. That is exactly what I want to say. We have an option. We can submit this anonymously, which I will do that right now. Just submit it anonymously. So that if you don't want the city to call you back, you just want to report it as an FYI, you can do that. One of the other things that we encourage you, especially, and other city members to also do, is to create an account with us. And what we'll do here is on the More button in the lower right-hand corner, I'll tap on that. And I've already logged in, so let me log out here. When you log in, you'll get this screen. You can get the about information. Basically, that just says that WebQA has written this application. But I'm going to log in. If you do not already have an account, here in the lower right-hand side, you can tap on the sign up, and it will let you create an account. And it will just basically ask you for your username, a password, and some basic information that you can fill in about yourself there so that we can contact you and reply with you with follow-up information. I'm going to go ahead and log in with my credentials here. Yeah. Try that again. Don't watch my password. And I will log in. Now, it doesn't look like much, but when I go into request a service again, and doesn't matter what you select here, I'll select animal control this time. Now across the top, not only can I still submit anonymously, but now I can also click the submit button. And what that will do is it will add my email address to the request so that as we in the city start to address those items of information, we can respond directly back to the citizen to say we've received your request, or we've got an officer coming at a certain particular time, or the repair is scheduled at such and such a time, and so forth. So we have the ability to communicate back with the individuals as well. And I'll go back onto this. One of the other buttons that we have there is for the city news here in the center. And again, this takes us to, take a second here. Probably have too many things over here. Let's try this again here. There we go, a little impatient. It opens up our webpage to get information about what's going on in the city. Now, one of the things that we are also working on right now, that Steve Owens is working on, is this opens up the Safari web browser in the application, our mobile app. What he's working on now is opening up a web browser for a mobile app. This one just opens up the app for a regular PC or tablet. Of course, your iPhones and other Android devices are a little bit smaller screens, so they're working on a mobile app that will actually fit the screen better, so you won't have to expand and scroll all over the place. So we're working on that now to get that open. We have a frequently asked questions section as well. And again, from our resources, we've gone through and pulled out many of the most frequently asked questions. Like, for example, where is City Hall located? Tapping on that, we then get the answer for where City Hall is located, given that address. Also, if you're out and about and just need to call the city, don't want to go through the app, you can tap on the Call the City button, and it will present you with the phone number, and you can either tap the call button to actually place the call and call the city, or write down the number if you need to and call later. And I will cancel that right now. Across the very bottom, we have the home button, which brings you to this screen that we have right now. No matter where you are or what you're doing in the app, anytime you tap the home button, you will come back to this main opening starting screen. In the business section, here's where, as Mr. Sell has mentioned, we have now incorporated businesses within the city of Greer for those from the business license database that we have. You want to know what businesses are nearby? Tap in the nearby button. You now get an alphabetical listing of the businesses in the area that we have nearby. Again, we have the street information there. I'm going to tap on the Cupcake Castle as an example. If I need to call them, I can again pull up their phone number and give them a call directly from there. If I need to know how do I get there, we also have a map button, which will now show you on the map exactly where they're located, and you can scroll through and find directions to get to that location based on their the map location. We'll back up from there, back up from there. Going back over just one more time here, I love doing this. We also have the businesses broken down by categories. Let's say, for example, you're here at one of our festivals and you're walking around the whole lot, and all of a sudden your corn bunions start hurting. You think, gee, I need to find a good podiatrist. We can go through and pull up the physicians, for example. And I just happen to know one, Dr. Anthony L. Mathis. Okay? Not from personal experience. But again, you can pull up the physician's address or whatever type of business you're looking for at that point. As Mr. Sell mentioned, what the businesses will also be able to do is go into their own business portal. They can type in their own descriptions. If they're running specials or sales, they can put that information in, so they can maintain that information themselves once they get registered and logged in. But again, we have everything broken down by the categories as well. You'll notice one of the things that we tried to do is we thought, what are most people going to probably use? And especially if you're visiting the city, you might want to know where the restaurants are. So we already have that broken down as a category as well, again showing those in alphabetical order as well. For the community, again, these are all links to our website. So if you want to know about visiting Greer, we can tap on that. And take a second. I'll go back to that. That is already open. All right, let me go back to this again here. Yep, I'm going to have to close that completely here. Let's try this again. All right. There we go. Okay, so they'll be able to go in, and again, these are links to our web pages with more information about how we can visit the city of Greer, things to do if you want to live here, if you work in the city of Greer, or just want to do some of the play activities of Greer. Again, those are links to those various web pages here, so McLean and Greer. And again, this will link to the actual mobile site that we're developing, so it will fit better in this application. We also have links for the city. Need to know information about the city administration. Again, you can just tap on that link and it will take us to that web page as well. So again, all the various departments are here and listed for those shortcuts to get into the application. And that is our mobile app. In the top right-hand corner, I did fail to mention we have the Twitter and Facebook. So if you want to like us on Facebook or join us, follow us on Twitter, again, those are direct links to Facebook and Twitter where you can follow along and make comments and so forth.
One of the things, too, is that we have spent 9 months, maybe longer, working on this internally. And where it is, what you see now, from the way it starts, a lot different. What we want is, of course, to get it out now, because we need more people's hands on it to give us feedback. As you notice on the one screen, there is a feedback option, which allows folks to report, about the app, what they have found, and what they want to see as far as improvements go. We've already identified a couple of things that we're wanting to see have to be a little bit more functionality. One is GPS, using actual GPS coordinates in addition to the address, because sometimes you may be in a place where there is not an address and you want to really get into a specific location. We would be able to use that, and then we would use our mobile devices to help move our crews or whoever needs to go to a certain place to the exact location that the problem was reported. I've used this myself in testing to report a street light the other day that was out in the neighborhood. When I took a picture of it and I hit the map location, it put me in the mailbox. I was standing right in front of it. It located me perfectly. But if I had went down the street a little bit and found a pothole, it may not have matched it up with the exact location of where it was. I know I get a lot of pictures from you all from time to time about properties that maybe need some repairs and stuff like that. Now you can attach those pictures. If you're using this app, you can attach it to it, GPS it, locate it, send it to us, and we'll be able to work it through the system, just like if you're using the online web services, request a service, mobile site, PC site, you can use the mobile app to do the same thing. Any questions at this point? I have an answer.
We do encourage you to log in. One of the things particularly, we give the ability for our community to use the anonymous submission or to receive a response back. All those responses are coming in from our respective departments, or they're coming from my office as well. But the nice thing, particularly for you as you are serving your constituents, it creates a response system. It allows you, because many times you'll send us an email and you'll say, well, what's the update? What's the status? If you will submit these through your account, use your city account, you'll submit it. When we then respond to that, or that we have information concerning that specific request, then we're going to be able to immediately notify you of what the status is on that. We just think that's a great resource tool for you. It allows you, when you're communicating back with your constituents, what the status of an issue, a concern, a complaint, a request, whatever may be there. And it gives us the ability that we're able to segregate those event by event or circumstance by circumstance, property by property. And that helps us greatly, as well as if we are having nuisance properties, particularly if we're having nuisance properties and we're able to build a file that we now have had to respond X number of times to a particular piece of property, that gives us the ability to have a little more documentation if we should have to go into municipal court for some reason as well. That paper trail helps us tremendously in doing that. So we do ask that you would log in, use your account, but if you need to do it the quick and dirty way and submit it anonymously, that's fine. It'll get to us. It'll get to us. You just won't hear back from us because we don't know who it came from. So if it's anonymous, we can't respond. If you use the online account, we can respond and let you know what the status is.
And we're going to make sure that all of our employees that have mobile devices, that they're using this as well. So if we have an officer that's out in the field and they notice something, they can submit problems this way too, and it helps us internally be able to track things on kind of a work order type system to help us be able to keep track of problems as well.
Yeah. But truly, long gone are the yellow sticky notes that we come in at the end of the shift, and we used to have police officers that would drive around during the night, see a burnout street light, they'd write it down on a sticky note. They'd come in at shift change, they'd put it on a piece of paper, they'd put it in inter-office mail, it would go over to another department, and it would take a little while for all that to process. We're literally now, the officer from the window of the vehicle can take the device, take a picture of the location, report the burned out street light, and we know it when we arrive in the office the next morning, and we're dispatching to have that light replaced, or that pothole repaired, or getting that lawn mowed if we need to give notification to someone that they've got a nuisance property. We think it's a great tool. We're very excited about it. We think that it will give us some really good ability to not only improve in our processes in handling work orders and handling requests, but it'll also improve communications with our public as well. As we know, as the data is suggesting to us, more and more people are using this as their means of communication. But we do have a button that says call. We understand that sometimes what the person needs to do is they just need to talk with someone. And when that happens, there's a button that says call, and they call us, and we handle their issue that way as well. So we want to give
a
our...
lot of discussion about that, but ultimately it's the goal is to get people in touch with us, and we don't want to eliminate ways to that.
That's correct. Exactly. So it'll only work if people use it. So we would like to start with you, and we'll certainly be rolling this out to our community. We'll keep you advised of what type of we have regular reporting that we monitor on a day-to-day basis, and we'll be doing monthly reports as well. And we'll be bringing that data back to you to let you know the usage of this system, how effective we've been able to be with it.
Looks
Good.
great. Just make sure you're parked when you're doing it, right?
Yes, yes. Make sure the car is in a legally parked position. Absolutely. Thank you. Councilman Griffin, the only other thing that I would ask of council is for consideration of one item in executive session. There may be others that you may have, but I would have one contractual item that I would ask to give some information to council on. I would not anticipate that it would require any action of council following the executive session, but I do have some information concerning a potential contract that I need to share with you.
Council, you've heard the administrator's report, and we got a lot of information as always. And I myself would like to thank our staff, because that's one of the things I always like about our staff. They're never satisfied. They're always moving us forward. And I also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Recreation Department. And I know Miss Albert's happy. That's been one of her pet peeves for quite some time. Judy, we cleaning your bucket list up good.
And I'm glad it's within the next 4 years that it's supposed to take place.
So if anybody else, I'm quite sure if you have any questions that come to your mind after the meeting, whatever, staff's always available to answer. If anybody else has anything right now.
I've got a question of Mr. Driggers.
Yes, sir.
In the future, I'd like for us to, our streets and our sidewalks are a big priority to us. And we have a lot of other streets and sidewalks that are not our property, but they lie within the city limits, or they join the city limits, that kind of thing. As time has gone by, I've always talked about us being polished. And one of the things I've noticed recently, say for instance, sidewalks, they may become overgrown. And our way to deal with it, as well as the state or the county, is we spray it and kill the grass. I'd like, one of the things for us as the city to look at is doing a better job of maintaining those sidewalks. That's probably going to take more labor, maybe a little bit more equipment, as well as now those would be sidewalk, let's say for instance going out on South Main. Sidewalks are in and out. We don't own them, but I would like for us to look in at trying to maintain that, just to make it look better. Bridges, and I've talked to Ann about this and Skipper about one bridge, and I've sent an email about some other bridges that we have. They're not in our inventory, but they lead into our city, or they lead directly to one of our properties, and they become overgrown, whether it's with kudzu, trees, whatever. That's not being maintained, and I hold out no hope that the state will maintain those. Just as Councilman Griffin said when we voted on the resolution about the penny sales tax, I'm going to hold my nose. This is basically what I'm doing here, is holding my nose and asking the council to discuss how or if we want to deal with those issues. Along with that, with the streets and the sidewalks, people do not separate whether it's a city sidewalk or a city street or a state road or a state sidewalk. They just say it's Greer's. And it makes a big difference to people visiting our city. We may not notice it, but when you first visit our city, God, it looks bad. And it probably is not ours. It's probably not the city's, because we do a really fine job of that. It's probably the state's. I want us to look at, or at least have a discussion about approaching the state under certain circumstances or conditions that we would come up with, taking that road, if they would allow it, into our inventory. And that helps us do a few things. It better manage stormwater, gateways that we always talk about, and just to make things look better. And I know that's a whole lot, and so I don't know when you and your staff will be ready to discuss that. I don't know if it's such a big issue that we need to just take a special time to sit down and talk about it outside of a regular meeting, but I think it's something that we as council need to at least discuss.
Absolutely. As we kind of say tongue-in-cheek, your priorities are our priorities. So we certainly understand that as council establishes those priorities through, whether that's through our comprehensive plan, our strategic plan, or directive by council, then we certainly are going to allocate the resources that are there for us. Your comment earlier, you're absolutely correct. You and I've had conversation about it. It's a resource issue. It's a resource issue for the state. So we know why the maintenance that we would like to see happen isn't happening. It's a resource issue for them. What we certainly recognize is that when visitors or our residents are inside our municipal limits or in our area, what they see is Greer. And their belief is that is part of the city of Greer. And it's our desire for that to be as clean and good looking and as safe as it can possibly be. I think there are ways for us to continue to do better at that. I think there are ways for us to assume some of the responsibilities that possibly the county or the state are not being able to meet. But those are resource issues. And as we continue to move forward and we grow as a municipality, I think there can be opportunities for us to allocate resources to those very things, and we would welcome the opportunity to have those discussions with all of council. Absolutely.
One other, this is just a side note to this conversation, the questions. I was having a general conversation with some folks who live here in the city and in the community, and we got onto the roads, and not only the condition of the roads, but the right-of-ways and the shoulders and things. And when you listen to them talk, it's all state. And I guess most of what I'm speaking about is state roads, sidewalks, right-of-ways, that kind of thing. And this was out without my prodding or talking. They just said there is a distinct difference when you leave, and I like to call it our competitors, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee. When you enter into our state, you can tell where you are by the condition of the roads, the poor condition. And you know, it's kind of forcing our hand to do things that we shouldn't have to do, but I think it can negatively impact economic development if we don't try to address some of these issues.
We'll certainly allocate time for all of council to give us some feedback on how you'd like to see us proceed. Absolutely.
Mr. Rodriguez, I'd like to, for you to pass along to the people in our fire department, police department, and public services that we appreciate their dedication. You know, like he says, you know, I imagine when those people fell in that hole the other night, they didn't care whether it was a state road, a city road, a county road, or whatever. All they cared is that help was on the way. You know, and I really do appreciate the dedication of our city employees. You know, they're always willing to go, you know, the extra mile, even though they knew that road wasn't in our city, but they were willing to, you know, to go help and offer
Absolutely.
our services. So I'd like for you to pass that along to them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next, we have appointments to boards and commissions.
Okay.
Ms. Albert?
Right, and I need to apologize. I had planned to have this taken care of, and the party that I had spoken with, it did not work out, and then I've been on the road for the last 12 days or so, and up in Canada, coming down through the northern states. And I did make very many comments that those South Carolina roads aren't quite as bad as we thought they were. Because those northern states sure do take a toll because of the ice and snow, but man, they need some help bad up there too, so. But I will have that done by the next meeting.
Okay. That brings us to old business. First, we have second and final reading of ordinance number 11-2014. It's an ordinance to provide for the annexation of a portion of property owned by Emmanuel Baptist Church located at 445 South Suba Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of R10 single-family residential for said property. Mr. Pace?
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Not to say Mr. Mayor, but Mayor Pro Tem.
You sound like me. I had this conversation. I said, self, said, huh? I said, the mayor sure is leaving a lot here lately.
But he's leaving in very capable hands. So, but again, we did have a public hearing, and Planning Commission met on July the 21st to hear and review this case. I'm going to go ahead and talk in conjunction to the next four that will follow in line with this. 11, 12, 13, and 14 are basically all the same properties, or different properties, but the same project. We did have a public hearing. No one really spoke in favor or in opposition to this request. However, after discussion with the Planning Commission, they felt that the R10 classification was not appropriate for this area, and they further recommended that all these be deferred to a R12 classification, which would impact this. I think he was requesting 77 units for this. That would have reduced it to 64 units if it was so approved. We did have discussion, or I did, with the developer in this project. And if you will notice also on your agenda tonight, ordinance under new business, ordinance number 20 is for additional properties that the church owned on the same location, approximately another 14 acres, I believe. Yeah, 14.7 acres. His request was to keep moving forward with this project, that you would amend this and recommend the R12 zoning as the Planning Commission did recommend, and that he would be okay with that and purchasing the additional and annexing an additional 15 acres. He thinks the density would be back to around 77 units or in that category. And Again, he would request that you do so, and that Planning Commission recommended that also with a 6-1 vote for that recommendation of R12. So it would require an amendment to the following 4 categories from R10 to R12.
And just as for clarification, it is staff's recommendation based on the action of the Planning Commission that we were asking council to amend for second reading from R10 to R12. That would then be in line with what has come to you from the Planning Commission. And it would just require that as an amendment on ordinances 11, 12, 13, and 14.
Yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion for ordinance. We'll take these one at a time, and I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 11-2014 with the
So move with the amendment.
Second.
a motion and a second. Is a representative of the property or the owner here? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? There being none, Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes. That moves us to the next one, the second and final reading of ordinance number 12-2014. It's an ordinance to provide for an annexation of property owned by Brock Sloan and Barbara Sloan located at 431 South Super Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of R10 single-family residential for said property.
Make a motion to accept with the amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes. Next, we have a second and final reading of ordinance -13-2014, an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Barbara Sloan located on South Suba Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of R10 single-family residential for said property. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept with the amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes. We have second and final reading of ordinance number 14-2014, an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Rose Suber located at 421 South Suber Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of R10 single-family residential for said property. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept with the amendment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Next, that moves us to second and final reading of ordinance number 19-2014, an ordinance calling for a referendum to determine whether the South Carolina Department of Revenue may issue temporary permits in the city of Greer to allow for the sale of beer or wine for off-premises consumption without regards to the days or hours of sale. Mr. Driggers?
We have no new information.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion?
As I said on the first reading, I wanted to hear from the community because I had a lot of issues going on that I was I wanted to hear from the community. And I know that it was out on television news, newspapers, on the radio. It filled up about 2 days of radio conversation. I received one comment, and that was it. So, my vote is going to be sent to the voters.
Any further discussion?
The only thing I would like to say is that I hope that those, that, you know, are favorable or unfavorable will make their way to the polls and cast their vote.
Yes.
And that's the only way it can be determined, and I just urge everyone to go out and vote.
I'd like to say one thing too. I talked to several people, and some were for and some were against this, but they all welcome the opportunity to vote and have an opportunity to speak. And so I look forward to giving them that opportunity. So I'm going to vote yes tonight.
Council, have any further discussion? There being none, Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
No. That takes us to new business. First on the agenda, we have Fire Department Storage Building bid summary. Fire Department requested bids for a 30 by 50 by 10 storage building attached to the 5 bids we received. We're recommending that we go with Hoover Buildings as their low bid and leave with what we have budgeted. Chief Harvey?
Pretty much said. I'm here, that is our recommendation. It is within budget, and that is our recommendation. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I'll entertain a motion so we can, for the purpose of discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Chief, there was a pretty good discrepancy with all the other bids. Any explanation?
No, sir. This is a 30 by 50 wood pole structure, metal siding building, 14-foot door with 2 3-0 entry doors, and no electrical, no plumbing, no heating. It is a storage building. So I can't explain the difference in the quotes. There's several local companies in here, Greenville area, but Morton was out of North Carolina and Hoover's at Greer.
Where is this building going to go?
It's going to go behind the training center at Station 2. It'll allow us to get rid of some portable storage buildings and to put allow more space in the bays by removing the lawnmower, the gator, and several things that accumulate over the years.
Were the bids detailed as far as?
Yes, there's specifications that are sent out, and each one of the builders met the specifications.
Is the low bidder, will they use screws or nails for their metal?
I'd have to go back and look at specifications, but I think it's screws.
How about any kind of overhang or gutters or anything?
Yes, there is an overhang, and there's actually a 10-foot lean-to off the back of it to put our pallets and straw that we use in the burn building.
As long as we're comparing apples to apples, that's fine. We need to make sure that we are.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion, council? Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes. Okay, that takes us to first and final reading of resolution number 10-2014. It's a resolution allowing the city of Greer to enter into a cooperative agreement with the county of Greenville in order to obtain urban county status with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Every 3 years, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD requires the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority, GCRA, to certify the continuation of Greenville County's Urban County Cooperative Agreement between the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority, Greenville County, and the City of Greer. cooperative agreement would continue to provide community development block grants, CDBG fund, and home partnership funds for fiscal years 2015 through 2017, July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2018. I see we have Mr. Martin Livingston, who's Executive Director of Greer County Redevelopment Authority.
Councilman Griffin, members of council and staff. Greenville County Redevelopment Authority is requesting approval of a resolution and agreement, the cooperative agreement between Greenville County, GCRA, and the City of Greer. The cooperative agreement provides for the opportunity to implement CDBG and home funds in the City of Greer. And as the corporate limits of the City of Greer, the City of Greer is a split, known as a split community or split municipality, where a portion of the City of Greer is in the city in Spartanburg County. GCRA would administer CDBG and home funds both in the City of Greer and Greenville County and in Spartanburg County. We would not administer any CDBG or home funds outside of the City of Greer in Spartanburg County. Spartanburg County has its own CDBG and home funds that it receives. The cooperative agreement provides for the requirements that GCRA does not have police powers in the City of Greer. We also do not have the power of eminent domain, which is one of the powers provided by the City of Greer. GCRA does not have those powers. It does provide for the administration of the CDBG and home funds by Greenville County and Greenville County designee, which is the Greenville County Redevelopment Authority. HUD has made special attention to point out 3 requirements in the agreement, 2 that have been existing in previous agreements. One includes fair housing, the other includes civil rights acts, and the third, a new requirement that was implemented and new to GCRA and Greer and Greenville County this year is the swapping of CDBG funds for general fund dollars. We have never done that here in Greenville County or the City of Greer, so it may not even apply to us, but it was required as part of the agreement.
That was what now?
Swapping of Greer general fund dollars for CDBG. An example that was used is a developer comes to the City of Greer, says, I'll build these affordable units. Greer says, okay, we'll provide you with CDBG funds if you will provide us with dollars that would go into our general fund. I think that's the swapping of funds that they talk about. Or swapping CDBG funds to get other funds. So, but we've not ever done that in Greenville County.
Mr. Drigger, is this document, I mean, is this past legal muster, is this pretty well standard as of the year?
Yes, sir, it is. The issue that you're questioning would be what would give us some concern. We take comfort in that it's not a practice that Greenville County through GCRA has exercised.
Right.
I'm going to entertain a motion for purpose of discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? There being none, Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Councilor, it seems like I'm pushing along pretty fast. I am. So if you really have any discussion, don't hesitate to stop me. Just count as me trying to get through this. Finally, we have our first reading of ordinance number 20-2014. It's an ordinance to provide for annexation of a portion of property owned by Emmanuel Baptist Church located at 445 South Suba Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of R12 single-family residential for said property. Ordinance number 20-2014 is an annexation and zoning request for a portion of property located at 445 South Suba Road that is requested zoning classification. R12 residential single-family containing 14.7 acres with the purpose to combine with other properties to construct detached single-family dwellings. Subject property is currently vacant. Planning Commission will conduct a public hearing on September 15, 2014 for zoning as partial. Mr. Pace?
Again, Mayor, Mr. Pro Tem, and Council, we bring this to you as a recommendation for the annexation at this time. This again is an additional 14.7 acres that go behind Emmanuel Church there, Super Road Baptist, but they will be behind that church, and they have agreed and signed the petitions for this. And again, the public hearing will be held on September the 15th. We have no currently plan for this area as far as a new plan being developed for the property. That will come in a later time throughout this process. But again, it's a continuation of the first four that you had on the agenda tonight.
For purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Glenn, this, where it's noted as additional 14.7 acres, that's at the back of this tract of land.
Yes.
All right, now we just deal with 4 ordinances for annexation,
Yes, they had
second
a-
final annexation.
Yes, sir. They had
Where,
a 2-acre portion to the north of that property.
it was just a long strip.
Right.
All right, I'm looking at the map, and then there's one large parcel, so that's 2.
Right. And then there's 2 smaller parcels also.
But they're not drawn in on this map.
Well, that map was made by me, and Justin was on vacation, or his
Okay.
honeymoon at that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does a little better job than I
I do see where one of the property lines is not contiguous, so
Exactly. He does a much better
Okay.
job than that. This was my attempt to do something without his knowledge and expertise, as he was on his honeymoon. And did not do it, but he will create a map for that you will have before second reading. That will be a more accurate description.
Council, any further discussion? Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
For executive session, we have one item, and it's a contractual matter. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes. I'll entertain a motion that we come out of the
It's
executive
always-
session.
So motion. Second.
Ms. Adams?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes. There being no further stated business, we are adjourned.